This is a YouTube version of the presentation I did at the Eventus Sports Betting in India conference on February 27th, 2018. So the conference was about predictive analytics technology in the sports betting and casino business. And the Prezi is available online. I'll give you the links later on. And this is basically a run through of the Prezi. To begin, I would like to ask the following questions. What would you think if I told you that with 10 likes, I could appraise a person's character better than an average coworker? With 70 Facebook likes, one could know a subject better than a friend. With 150 likes, one could know one better than their parents would. And with 300 likes, one could predict a subject's behavior better than their partner could. And with even more likes, one would be able to understand a person better than they know themselves, which is honestly a pretty frightening thought. This all comes from the field of psychometrics, which I will delve into a bit later on. But obviously, that's using analytics, Facebook analytics, social media analytics. And as I said, I will venture into that at the very towards the end of the presentation. But to start with, I would like to say that analytics today is very well understood is very utilized currently in the business world. Annie Essler, actually, who's been studying this, is saying that for every dollar spent on analytics, $13 will result. And we're at a point where the hype surrounding analytics is converted into real documented returns for companies of all sizes and across all industries. Companies like Starbucks has also monetized the value of their social media following and their social media fans, which I will touch upon later. But they do recognize that connecting with people on social media, which is obviously another form of analytics, is actually quantifiable, and that comparably they are valued at, I think, $4 or $5 according to the reach and the advertising reach that it costs in a normal channel. So we are now at a point where ROI is highly definable, and which does make analytics investments much easier to understand and much easier to, or should be much easier to actually get greenlit within corporations. This is a timeline of analytics and data, and going back all the way to the 1900s, where we started with surveys. Ironically, back then there was also eye tracking. That's something that actually is revitalized in 100 years later. People are very interested in looking at where people's eyes are going in terms of marketing. You know, where are people focusing on the screen on their web browser, and also where people might be focusing on advertising on a television screen in one of these malls. As far as the analytics, it started with ANOVA regression, followed through with Bayesian decisions, and up to conjoint analysis and structural. And this is where we are today with the addition, at least in data terms, clickstream, video, social, and location. So these are all data sources that are very important for the analytics community. Obviously, AI and machine learning is tapping into what we've been looking at in the last 5 years or so, and that's becoming a very important part of marketing intelligence, business intelligence, and customer intelligence. Obviously, most people should recognize the Hadoop elephant and the cloud symbol over here, and I will just delve into how analytics can be used in these technologies. And this is a quote that I thought was particularly interesting. I write about it in my book. But basically, Dan Woods, who wrote an article, How Real-Time Marketing Technology Can Transform Business, talks about technology and how it has changed from marketing and market research into something less like golf and more like a multiplayer first-person shooter game. Crouched behind a hut, the stealthy marketers dressed in business casual camouflage assess their weapons for sending outbound messages. Email campaigns, events, blogging, tweeting, PR, ebooks, white papers, apps, banner ads, Google AdWords, social media outreach, search engine optimization rounds it out. So it's a considerable amount of channels that we now have to look at to market to customers. The brave marketers, Dan Woods writes, rise up and blast away using weapons not to kill consumers, but to attract them to their sites, to their offers, to their communities. If the weapons work, you get incoming traffic. So this is a very different world that we're in compared to even 10 or 20 years ago when we were direct marketing through television, radio, and also print. So it's a much more exciting world and a much more digital technological world. And it is what you have to actually, this is your marketing technology now. And this is how you have to connect with people, because if you're not in all these places, people will ignore you. So successful mobile advertising requires three things: reach, purity, and analytics. Reach can be fostered by all the things I previously mentioned, plus push and pull services, QR codes, RSS feeds, search, social media sites, video casting, which is a very interesting way where people are connecting with, companies are connecting with people in China and also throughout the world. Purity refers to the message and its cleanliness. If the data is unstructured and untrustworthy, it is basically useless. So data governance, we're finding, is paramount for real-time advertising to work. Junk in, junk out is a very famous quote attributed to any analyst who's building models, and purity is perhaps the most important element of the modeling process. Analytics involves matching users' interest, implicit and explicit context, preferences, network and handset conditions to ads and promotions in real time. So customer analytics has evolved from simply reporting customer behavior to segmenting a customer based on his or her profitability, to predicting that profitability, to improving those predictions because of the inclusion of new data, to actually manipulating customer behavior with target-specific, and it could be context-specific promotional offers. These are the channels that real-time thrives in, and this is where a sports book can gain a powerful competitive advantage. This is an analytic escalator. I call it the analytic value escalator. And as you can see, we have value on one axis, difficulty on another. And the higher up you get, the more optimized you get, and the more complicated the process is, even to the point where when you're doing descriptive analytics, you can build a model for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and basically when you get to the end of the process, you find out that it just doesn't work. I mean, we're dealing with complexity here that is, in some cases, going to be the most complicated things you could ever do. So, but we do start with descriptive analytics, and this basically asks the question, what happened? In this case, you can use something like Google Analytics to track website traffic, such as page views and number of visitors. And that alone can be very important and very interesting. You can basically find out what pages are attracting your customers, where they're leaving. So descriptive analytics it's very much a data mining operation, but it can actually be very good, a very good thing to do. Market basket analysis, which utilizes association rules, would also be considered descriptive analytics. Sports books could use market basket analysis to bundle offer promotions as well as gain insight into its customers' buying habits. Pattern discovery methods such as customer segmentation, i.e. culling through a customer database, is also considered descriptive. Simple customer segmentation models could also divide customers into their preferred choice of purchases. The next step up is diagnostic analytics. Why did it happen is the question that these analytics tend to pose. And this could be mining data to determine what caused a spike in web traffic, let's say, over the past month. The third one up is where you start getting into the interesting stuff, is the predictive analytics. What could happen? And here we use algorithms and data to predict which casino or sportsbook patrons are most likely to use a particular offer. I have a quote here from Andrew Carr. Logistic regression is an increasingly popular statistical technique used to model the probability of discrete outcomes. When properly applied, logistic regression analysis yield very powerful insights into what attributes, i.e. variables, are more or less likely to predict event outcomes in a population of interest. These models also show the extent to which changes in the values of the attributes may increase or decrease the predicted probability of event outcomes. Logistic regression techniques may be used to classify a new observation whose group is unknown in one of the groups based on the values of the predictor variables. According to CARP, logistic regression models are frequently employed to assess the chance that the customer will repurchase a product, remain a customer, or respond to a direct mail or other marketing stimulus. The top of this analytics food chain is actually prescriptive analytics, and this is ask the question, what should happen? Here you're using algorithms to optimize such things as table games revenue management, hotel room rates, slot floor optimization, labor utilization, and this, as I mentioned previously, is as tough as it gets. Predictive analytics suggests decision options on how to take advantage of a future opportunity to mitigate a future risk and show the implication of each decision option. Prescriptive analytics can continually take in new data to repredict and represcribe, thus automatically improving prediction accuracy and prescribing better decision options. So this is where that AI and machine learning can do its thing too. We actually did build some dashboards and a modeling system we call BetWatch, which actually it utilizes SAP HANA, the in-memory solution from SAP. These dashboards are actually built on SaaS Visual Analytics. But what we wanted to do was drill down into a deep understanding of each customer. So this would be a dashboard for every single customer in the sportsbook or casinos database. We have definable ROI, the turnover, the profit, average stake, average odds, and then to the right side we have a heat map that actually displays all of his bets. The green is a successful bet and winnings on the side of the player, and red would be a successful bet for the house. And you can see here, we break down this particular player actually does quite well on Asian handicap bets, and he loses a bit of money on soccer bets, which are actually under/over. As you can see, under/over here. So what you can see also here is this particular player loves to bet on the Premier League in the in the UK, as well as the Spanish the Spanish Liga, League One, La Liga, as well as the Italian League, Italian One League, and I believe we even have some French. So he likes to play the top tier level. He's actually doing quite well. So this would be great information that could be passed on to the marketing department, and we could say if you did want to provide him with offers, you would definitely stick to offers that were of the variety that he loses on quite a bit, which are the Asian handicap. So what the modeling also was doing was we wanted to put people and bettors into individual buckets, and we segmented these people into 5 different segments. And as you can see, most of these segments were actually losing segments. So this particular sportsbook was not doing very well. But as you can see, segment 2 was a particularly difficult segment for the sportsbook. And here we wanted to set up a risk management solution in which, and this was all happening in real time, but we would take people from particular buckets. So if someone was in section 2, we would set it up so that the system allowed people who were consistently beating the sportsbook to make bets up to, let's say, we put online maybe $50,000 in risk that we would be okay with. So if someone came in and made a bet that was in group 2 and made a bet that was $11,000, then we would have an alert sent to the risk management department, and they could actually decide at that point whether they wanted to take the bet, whether they wanted to reject the bet, or maybe take part of the bet. So this way, if someone from the other groups that wasn't taking the house for such an enormous amount of money wanted to make a bet, we would accept it. It was just these were the people that we were very worried about, so we wouldn't allow them to take bets. And that was called BetWatch, and it is something that we developed with the SAP Startup Focus Group, and it is available as a product. We also were going to add social media elements, so you could actually go in and your players would be associated with their social media accounts. So you could actually look and see if, say, they liked the Sunderland Black Cat. Someone would know that those are probably the bets that we should offer them. And once again, offer them the bets that they consistently lose upon. So, keep the team and offer them the bet that was probably going to be money that came back to the house. So, further into the analytics, this is an IBM definition of analytics, and basically breaks it down: descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. What has happened, what could happen, what should happen. Some of these examples might not be purely for sports books, and most of them are for casinos. But everything from increase what the user needs to do is increase asset reliability on the descriptive side. It does reduce labor and inventory costs. With predictive analytics, you could predict infrastructure failures. You can forecast facility space demands, let's say. And with prescriptive, you could increase asset utilization and optimize your resource schedule. So for casinos in Macau, there's a particular need for reducing manpower. So for them to understand the activity on the gaming tables, it helps them reduce their dealer counts, and that can be a substantial amount of money. So, when you're dealing with 10,000, 8,000 people employed in these organizations, if you can cut down even 5%, you're reducing the cost to feed them alone is $10 a day. So and getting them to the casino and back, so you have all of the costs for transportation, and why fill up the floor if you don't really need it? So anyway, these are more that you can look at in your own time. And in terms of the gaming models, one of the things these are the ones that we generally do. The first bet scoring model is a model in which we are trying to help casinos or trying to help sports books understand what kind of player they have. So in many cases, it takes a month for a sports book to figure out if they have a player whom they should be on the lookout for. In many cases, there are some players who are sophisticated enough that they're doing modeling on the side, or maybe they just spend a lot of time understanding the teams and players. But some you will have very skilled bettors that you definitely want to shut down their play, and you never want to give them bonuses. So what we did was we came up with this idea for a first bet scoring model, in which when someone joins the sports book, we track each one of their bets. And the best example is to say, like the Super Bowl that we just had a few months ago in America with the Patriots versus the Philadelphia Eagles. If someone came in and bet on the Philadelphia Eagles, let's say when they were plus, I think it was like 6.5 or 5.5 point favorites, and then as it did in that case, the line shifted in their favor and it actually dropped down and made them, less. The odds that you were given was less than before. It dropped down to, I think, 4.5. So anyone who had it at 5.5, or when it first opened, was actually in a nice position because the market had moved in their direction, and they could have, in some cases, they could hedge that position. So we consider that a skillful gambler. So if someone comes in and makes a bet and the line moves in his direction 2 to 3 times, then we know they're probably either very, very lucky, or they're probably pretty skillful enough that they know how to bet properly. These are the people that the first bet scoring model is going to say, boom, alert, don't give these people bonus money. Try to get rid of them in many cases because they're not going to be good players in general. So second model that is a very common model is the customer segmentation model. Third model, customer acquisition model. And in this case, you do need to get outside. You'll have obviously data within your company and within your customers. You'll be able to glean some information from that, but you'll also, in many cases, have to go out and get public information that is in a lot of industrialized countries available for you to see. And that might, you might find that you have, we did some modeling that found a 35-year-old
big IT professional was the most likely to end up on the gaming tables in a casino in, I won't say where, but it was in the U.S. And this is information that then you could use to turn around and market to particular areas where the IT industry is, or particular websites that these IT female workers would be surfing to. And so this is all very highly interesting information that can be utilized by the marketing team. RFM models, recency, frequency, monetary, to understand when people should be coming back. Propensity to respond models are very important for marketing. You don't want to market to your entire database. So, you find that 10% who are most likely to respond to a offer, then those are the ones you want to market to, because the marketing campaigns can be very expensive when you get into the mailing and the emailing and all of the accoutrements that go with it. Customer conversion model is also important. Customer likelihood to return is also quite important, because you want to have calendars of when people might return, and you can set up baccarat tournaments or blackjack tournaments or slot tournaments according to these calendars and customer likelihood of returning. Patron worth model is obviously lifetime value is very important to understand what the life cycle of patron might be in and what you can expect for them in the future. Customer churn is also quite important for the industry, although it's an industry that people are not locked into contracts, so it's not always easy to figure out when they're going, when they're leaving or why they're leaving. But this is very important to, in an industry that is as competitive as the sports betting industry. It's very important to figure out when people might be leaving, because then you can hopefully change their mind with offers that will keep them. And then optimizing offers is also extremely important, because you want to optimize the amount of people that are going to get the offer, and then optimize what offer they will be able to get. And we're in a world now where there's real-time offering going on, and you can bring a level of personalization into the marketing, so that the particular thing that one will make the person respond, you send onto the channels that they want, when they want it, when it's most likely to be utilized. And then you can also figure out the ROI almost as you're sending it out, so that you can understand that, who I want to get the most profitable people here. So don't waste my time sending the wrong offer to the wrong people at the wrong time. The fifth type of analytics, which doesn't really fit within the rest, but is an important one in this day and age, is edge analytics. This is the process of analytics. I should say, this is the processing of analytics at the point, or very close to the point, of data collection. This exponentially increases the ability to use predictive analytics where it can be best be utilized, at the meeting point of customer interaction data. In short, edge analytics brings analytics to the data rather than vice versa, which understandably can reduce costs and increase its exploitability. In this case, and one of the best examples is the utilization of facial recognition technology within cameras. So we've come to a point now where one of my partners actually can spot one face out of a database of 30 million people in a few seconds. So it's very impressive technology, and it wouldn't be able to spot these people this quickly if they were if they had to go into the cloud and call the database up there. They basically need the data at the point of capture. And this, for a casino, this would be great in places like Singapore, where people have to line up to get in to show their passport. So if you had the facial recognition capturing their image as they were, walking 100 meters into the casino, then the people sitting there in security would be able to see these pictures of these people coming up on their screen, and could probably get them in a lot faster. In places like Singapore, you're losing money when there are these huge lines outside to get people in. Not just the money loss, but it's also the customer experience. For sports books, these would be good to maybe spot problem gamblers coming in and trying to make bets at in the branch offices. IoT is another big word that's been being thrown around these days, almost as much as big data. So IoT sensors can help spot patrons arriving in sports betting shops or track employees, suppliers and supplies throughout the operation, as well as help save energy and water usage. Edge analytics can help analyze a sports betting shop's customer behavior, as well as spot upcoming equipment malfunction. Other areas where it can help improve compliance analysis and mobile data thinning, i.e. the culling of mobile data noise from social media or direct local streams. The cloud is actually a very interesting development in been going on over the past 10 or 20 years. And the cloud technology allows marketers in particular to access data more easily, as well as uncover insights quicker. It allows personalization marketing on an entirely different scale as what was available in the past few years. It allows a much faster time to value, and since cloud-based solutions focus on simple, standardized interfaces, this minimizes integration effort and cost. Many new big data sources are actually only available in the cloud, including a lot of social media data. When you have data coming in so fast, to take it from social media feeds into a land-based data center, and then utilize that data, build models. Some of these could be very complicated. That takes a lot of time. So putting this all up in the cloud actually simplifies and speeds things up. Plus, cloud means organizations will be less restricted by data transmission rates. All of this increases the value of moving analytic modeling to the cloud, where it can be near these sources of data. These are just two examples. A fitness company that sells directly to consumers was able to create a cloud-based analytical solution to build buyer and inquiry models to target catalogs for one of its brands, and this resulted in 25% higher response rates. For a credit card company, a cloud-based predictive analytics solution was able to reduce fraud, something called bust-out fraud, which is people basically using their credit card as much as they could and then shutting it down and basically walking away from the debt. So they were able to save $40 million per year in losses on this. So it was quite substantial. Now, one of the examples I wanted to give is an example from a retail e-commerce store. And it's interesting because it's actually also based on sports, and it'll give you an idea of what people are doing currently utilizing all of these data points. So there's a company called Fanatics, which is a website that sells shirts, sports not memorabilia, but shirts and pants and t-shirts, and with all of the team logos. And what their analytics platform is doing is it's crunching over 200 variables, including Twitter chatter, online advertising data, and sales stats, to figure out which players will become popular before the public catches on. And there was a particular player who was a rather interesting fella, because he was an Australian rugby player. He used to play for the Parramatta Eels. I believe he plays for them again. But he decided to try out for the American National Football League. And in America, they have 4 games of preseason games. And if you make the cut, then you make it into the regular team. And they have about 100 players. And I guess his story somehow got picked up. He had a couple of good runs. And all of a sudden, Fanatics noticed that Jared Haynes' name was popping up on Twitter an enormous amount. It was the uniqueness of him being an Australian or a New Zealander playing in an American Football League. So what they did was they filled up their inventory with his T-shirts, because they knew that the demand was just about to hit. And it did, and they were one of the rare companies that had the T-shirts to fulfill that demand. So what Fanatics is doing is they analyze number of searches for any given player on its websites, sales on its sites, and clicks on specific jerseys in digital ads, the Fanatics emails to fans, and they also scrape Facebook and especially Twitter to develop a sentiment analysis. This is a quote from the director of CRM, the company. "We want to deliver the most relevant merchandise to you at the right time for your team. If you're a Yankees fan, we want to make sure we're never showing you anything Boston Red Sox." So they see sports, the love of teams, as almost a zero-sum game, right? If I'm a fan of Tottenham, I don't like Arsenal. If I'm a fan of Arsenal, I hate Tottenham, right? Manchester United hates Manchester City, and vice versa. So, in terms of the personalization marketing, this is how you go from an anonymous web surfer who comes to your website to a known entity. And you need to get them to a known entity as quickly as possible because you want to understand them on such a high level that when they get something from you, they're going to be like, oh, these guys know me. I can trust them. And I know they're not going to send me things that are a waste of my time. So, and these are all analytic data points that must be captured by a system, an in-house system, whether it's in the cloud or on premise. But basically, you want to catch the IP address from where they initially come in. You want to capture the browser fingerprint, the device ID if they're coming in on a mobile device, cookies, social ID. Once you have the social ID, you can capture the social activity. You also want to get the email address, and then obviously you'll have the gaming and commerce information once they open an account and they start doing things. And then the post-transaction would be any surveys or things like that. The identity-related data sources, there's about 20 of them. So this is an enormous amount of data if you think about it. Everything from email address to location, demographics, social ID, device ID, all the way down to location-related data and social influence. This is important to understand how they might be able to help you market through their network, and psychographics as well, which I'm getting to shortly. In terms of AI and machine learning, this is a figure that I would like to that I think is important, and I will delve down into some of the particulars in terms of. So with machine learning, you've got unsupervised learning, which can result in clustering and dimensionality reduction. Supervised learning, you've got the classification, which can which can help with customer retention, identify key patterns in purchasing. There's also the regression here, which can help with advertising popularity prediction, customer worth, market forecasting, and population growth. The third pillar would be the reinforcement learning, where this can help with real-time decisions, learning tasks, and game AI, as well as skill acquisition. So unlike traditional customer-facing platforms that cover a fragmented view of the buyer, an intelligent platform presents a single aggregated view of customer data. The built-in intelligence layer helps businesses spot trends, anticipate needs, and respond more proactively. With that complete picture, for example, a business knows exactly when the customer last purchased the product, what the product was, whether he or she had a problem with the company, and if so, exactly how it was resolved. So this is once again talking about the fanatics and what their philosophy is for harnessing the power of AI. So another quote, the wide range of machine learning models learns from what is collected to unearth and match patterns as well as act on correlations that would otherwise remain hidden. AI models embedded within the CRM system's personalization engine take into account the catalog that any given shopper sees and the context on how the merchant is engaging with that shopper, and then ranks every product for that buyer in terms of relevance from search results, making the most targeted and personalized results ever. So basically, they're looking at every data point that a customer will have when he comes and looks at the Fanatics website, when he buys something, potentially even if he's going to the social media Fanatics web pages or Facebook page or Instagram page or whatever pictures they had. So you're ranking every product the buyer looks at in terms of relevance and search results. So they'll be able to have maybe a list of 100 items that would be relevant. So this is very powerful next best offer information. Predicting customers' future behaviors and needs often turns on the ability to parse their emotions more than just their past purchases and create a shared bond. So this once again goes to the love one would have for football teams or American football teams. And Fanatics utilizes this emotion in its marketing and in its campaigns. So they want to understand their customers in the best way possible through his or her emotional team bond, because as Fanatics sees it, sports merchandise is an emotional business. And once again, sports merchandise or sports betting. These are um, highly emotional businesses that we must be aware of when we're dealing with these customers. So today, the importance of personalization in customer experience initiatives can't be underestimated. There's an article, 5 Ways AI Will Boost Personalization in Digital Marketing. And Dirk Bogle, the writer, argues that AI will radically change the marketing landscape by allowing the following: personal shopping for everyone, utilizing chatbots to increase customer service, seamless programmatic media buying, and predictive customer service. So this is the future, and it's not very far away. In terms of customer segmentation, when we build models, we usually utilize the K-means clustering algorithm, which identifies and classifies items into groups based around their similarity. K is the number of clusters that needs to be decided upon before the clustering process begins. There are also recommender systems, which are Fanatics is another good example here. They send out about 3.5 billion messages. So when a team wins the Super Bowl, they can have 350 products live with a press of a button 3 seconds after the game. There's no reason why, as a sports book, you don't have, the 100 bets lined up when, let's say, New England wins the AFC Championship. So, those you kick in, those you can offer to all of the gamblers bet on, because they're going to be happy that their team's going to the Super Bowl. So what better way to celebrate that than make a Super Bowl bet? So Wilbur's team built scripts that search customer data to display fans' favorite teams, pulled in real-time scores and stats from vendor feeds, and personalized branding using partner IDs. Fanatics is even building automatically triggered rules-driven campaigns based on dynamic information. So anytime a baseball player hits 3 home runs in a game, which is not that common, but does happen, Fanatics will send out an email featuring his jersey to fans of that team. Targeted marketing, that's another important element of AI. And on the classification side of things, image classification can be used for checkout fraud. So the use of deep neural networks and image classifiers can analyze and parse images, which can enable sportsbook marketers to monitor the images that provide the highest selling and conversion rates through each e-commerce channel.
The other important technique in classification is customer retention, identifying key patterns in purchasing. And under supervised learning, we have a subset regression, which includes customer worth, market forecasting, estimating life expectancy, as well as population growth prediction. For reinforcement learning, one of the biggest problems in corporate marketing is hitting the customer with automated marketing offers too often. In the future, AI will be able to analyze a consumer's purchase history and email habits to choose the optimal time for hitting the inbox with content that's bound to boost open rates and conversions. On the marketing side, AI may deliver that extra dash of relevancy programmatic advertising has been waiting for all these years. On the consumer side, AI helps create individualized display ads that website visitors want to see, while on the accounting side, the bots handle invoicing and payment for these ad transactions, giving marketers more time to focus on the big picture. As for bots, this is another element of AI that is blowing up right now. One of the standouts Vogel claims is Facebook's M technology, which is embedded in the Messenger app. The AI has been able to deliver personalized product, travel, and restaurant recommendations while troubleshooting technical problems. And these are bots that anyone with a Facebook page can easily add. On the reinforcement learning side, real-time decisioning is also an important element. And in this case, there's an example of match fixing. Bringing in real-time feeds can actually potentially help catch match fixing in games like badminton, table tennis, and match fixing right now is a huge problem in sport, to the tune of $500 billion on the Asian markets. In areas, countries like China, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, and Thailand have been found to be big hotbeds of match fixing. One of the problems is the potential prison time if you're caught match fixing is really rather vague. So it's a game where there's huge upside and limited downside. In their paper, Match Fixing and Sports Betting in Football, Empirical Evidence from the German Bundesliga, the writers found that there was a evidence using Betfair bet volume. They did find that there were some abnormal patterns associated with specific officiating match referees. So it's a situation in which the referee, who obviously is a very important element of the game and can, with a penalty decision or a sending off, can very negatively affect one team's performance. So they were able to actually use some analytics that did uncover some suspicious activity. In the paper that I want to discuss here, there's actually two writers who have actually done some, they looked at some analytical data to prove in their mind match fixing there is a way to bring in real-time feeds and actually catch match fixing on badminton games, perhaps when it's being played. So what they did in the paper is called Preliminary Study to Detect Match Fixing, Benford's Law in Badminton Rally Data. So Benford's law is an interesting law which refers to the phenomenon in which as the first digit of a number increases from 1 to 9, the occurrence rate of this number reduces. As the rate of the first digit being 1 is about 30%, that of 2 is 17%, 9, and that of 9 drops all the way down to 4.58%. According to Park et al., Benford proved the fact that the numbers starting with 1 are more specifically distributed among the numbers that are used in every day, such as the area of the lake, demographics, mortality statistics, and numbers appearing in newspapers. And these numbers follow a unique law called Benford's law. This is a graph that basically shows Benford's law in action, and where 1 obviously is the highest, up around 30-something percent. And then it drops down to 2, how often 2 shows up, how often 3, 4, 5. And you can see the pretty clear distinction. And this was actually done for matches, typical badminton matches. So you can see the distribution is pretty standard, even for men's singles, men's doubles, and mixed doubles. It's pretty much the same. So the study actually looked at results from the 2012 London Olympics fixed matches. So there were a couple of matches in which the teams actually threw the game because it put them into a better ranking in the knockout round. So there was one particular game in the London Olympics that it was very clear that the game was being fixed. It was to the point where the players were warned to improve their performance after the first set because it was such a joke. And even in the second set, apparently the numbers remained far off from a normal Benford distribution. So from this and another match, they were able to prove that the Benford first digit distribution was way off. So what Park et al. Speculate is that when Benford's law, if we were able to watch as these rallies were being played and track the first digit, then we would be able to see anything outside Benford's law would actually make it look like there's something suspicious going on. So they actually extrapolated that perhaps you could take this to other sports as well, whether the records such as the distance covered or time taken for a soccer player to sprint during the game, the number of touches on the ball while dribbling, and the number of passes of the ball during basketball games perhaps could follow Benford's law as well. It would be an interesting topic for future study. This is something that if anyone wanted to discuss, we would be interested in perhaps working with you on this. The methodology could easily be ported over to tennis and other racket sports, even table tennis, we believe here at Intelligentsia. So in terms of social media analytics, you can use those to discover patterns, to anticipate customers' problems with products and services. You can understand sentiment drivers. Obviously, that's what happened with Jared, who played for the San Francisco 49ers. You can also identify sentiment. You can identify characteristics for better segmentation. You'll be able to measure the organization's share of voice. You will also be able to measure competitors' products and services. You should be able to identify potential customer churn. You can measure a company's brand reputation. Attribution analysis is very important as well. You might be able to figure out where or what channel a sale should be properly attributed to. And you can also determine the effectiveness of marketing touches and messages in buying behavior. Now, finally, back to Facebook. And basically, psychometrics, which is something also known as psychography, is a scientific attempt to measure the personality of a person. The so-called ocean method has become the standard approach. Two psychologists were able to demonstrate in the 1980s that the character profile of a person can be measured and expressed in 5 dimensions. These big 5 are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So with these 5 different traits, you can actually predict a lot about someone's personality, which should help you to market to them better. For a long time, the problem was data collection, because to produce such a character profile meant asking subjects to fill out a complicated survey, asking very personal questions. Then came the internet and Facebook and Kosinski, who actually created an app called My Personality, which he then put onto Facebook, and before he knew it, he had the biggest collection of psychological data ever assembled in human history. So, and what we're speculating is there may be ways that we can use this Facebook data to be a part of a problem gambling model. With problem gambling, you have about 16 different signs that someone might have a higher propensity to be a problem gambler. So everything from genealogy is the customer's parents. Let's say if your parents are problem gamblers, then you have a very high propensity to be a problem gambler too. So in places, like Singapore, you would be able to check and see if a customer's parents is on the government exclusion list, let's say. Impulsivity, you can actually check that through Facebook. Does the customer's behavior display impulsive behavior? And in some cases right now, we're actually looking at mobile data and tracking mobile data. And if someone is moving around a lot, that could actually be a sign that they are very impulsive and have some problems in that area. Sign and age is an easy one. Are they between 18 and 29 or 40 to 49, which are the problematic ages for problem gamblers? Gender, males tend to be more problem gamblers than females. Marital status, if you're single, that's a sign. Preferred forms of gambling, does the customer play one or more game types? Level of debt, there was a study in the UK that said if you have greater than £16,000 in debt, then you could be problematic. Alcohol use, are you consuming alcohol heavily? This could also be discovered on Facebook with your potential likes. Are you liking a lot of alcohol companies, let's say? Drug use, this same way. Are you liking pot companies and pot pictures? Does customer, and then we have the psychiatric problems. So this can also be checked out via Facebook. Does the customer have a history of anxiety disorder? Does customer display impulsive behavior, antisocial behavior? These potentially could be caught on Facebook. Does customer display signs of boredom, loneliness, depression, and/or anxiety? So these are all things that can actually be checked. By analyzing Facebook likes, a casino or sportsbook could predict how open, conscientious, outgoing, and neurotic an individual customer is. It could be as simple as doing a Facebook graph search of pictures liked or videos liked and or stories liked with the customer's name. In addition to predicting a customer's personality, these tests could estimate the customer's age, relationship status, intelligence level, life satisfaction, political and religious beliefs, and education level. Now, if you have a Facebook page in which people are liking you, then you actually do have access to a lot of this data. So in terms of this study, they actually found that these 4 images and these 4 companies or people actually, or bands, actually do prove a lot. Like if a man has Maybelline liked on his webpage, on his Facebook page, he's very likely to be gay. No surprise there. But Wu-Tang Clan actually was the biggest predictor of whether someone was straight, which is not that surprising, but interesting in its own right. If someone liked an American car manufacturer, they were very likely to be a Trump voter. And if someone liked Lady Gaga, then they were likely to be very outgoing. So these are this is information that people are putting out there that is there for anyone to take, pretty much. So it's a very interesting and keen look into one's psyche. Now, so obviously analytics can be a very complicated process, but I wanted to give you a couple of websites that are actually quite interesting that you might be able to join or become a part of the community. Kaggle is something that was recently purchased by Google, and it's a platform for data science competitions. They claim that they help you solve difficult problems, recruit strong teams, and amplify the power of your data science talent. So what you can do here is you can put up a few $1,000s and say, I want to do a competition for the best casino or sports betting segmentation model, and then they'll have hundreds, maybe a few hundred people who are PhD scientists in many cases. They'll actually build a model, and then you get to judge it, and then the best ones will be the ones who takes away the prize. So it's a very interesting way to get a community working on your specific problem for actually a limited amount of money. And then SingularityNet has been raising money to create a decentralized marketplace for AI, and they actually were oversubscribed. It's another one of these blockchain deals. Basically, the attempt is to bring AI and blockchain together to create a decentralized open market for AI. The implications are that it could let anyone monetize AI, allowing companies, organizations, and developers to buy and sell AI algorithms at scale, thus lowering costs and increasing the capabilities of the AIs. The funding just happened late last year or early this year, so it is in the process of being built right now, but they're trying to basically become a competitor to Amazon and some of these other, I think Workplace Amazon or Work or something like that. So they're out there and creating a whole environment that will be good for buyers and sellers of AI, we believe. So this is the end of my presentation, and if you want to get the actual Prezi, just go ahead and scan the QR code down there. And I do have a book. It's called The Predictive Sports Book, as well as a book entitled The Predictive Casino that goes into much more detail. And if anyone's interested, please just shoot me an email. I am andrew.pearson@intelligentsia.co. That's .co. So I hope you enjoyed it. Do stay in touch. I should be doing more at the Cyprus event in May. So hopefully I will see all of you then.